Hi guys, before we get into this video, I was editing it and I thought I look and sound super tired, and I thought I'd show you why. We got a new little puppy as part of our family. This is Lexi. She's one of 3 of our little dogs, but she's brand new to the house and she's been keeping me up and keeping me busy, as I was a little tired in this video, so please excuse my lack of energy. But I do think there's some good nuggets of information in here, so stay tuned. I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, it's Mike with another NFT Guardians video. We're on the Building Blocks event, building a rare team on the free-to-play account. So right now we're looking at running Token, Herc, and Yalmar, all using strength gear. The struggle with that is, and it's kind of where we left off yesterday, is I thought that would be a really interesting combination. But the resources I have are just stretched super thin. So in order for me to actually make an entirely new set of strength gear, because I'm on the free to play, I have 2 sets for Palmera and for Tuskgrog. But I don't have extra stones to put into a 3rd set without salvaging a set that I'm using for the other team. So I'm trying to supplement in. So what I'm really struggling here, we've got this set here where Herc over here has got no level up at all, and I'm out of resource. I have some stones, but I don't have gold. And then down here at Yalmar, we've got a couple pieces. I had to make a rare piece of gear to put on them and try to level it up, but I don't have a lot to deal. So I am going to grab some gold from the daily where you can buy the gold, and I'm going to check the shop and see if I can do any better. But their gear is very much going to be underwhelming. So at this point right now, I'm really just trying to figure out if this composition is worthwhile. But the reality is my high score probably won't work with this composition because I don't have the gear to support it. So we're probably, out of everything we've tried, going to end up going back to where we started. But I do want to give this a shot and just see if there's some nuggets here we can take away from. So I am going to go in here. I'm going to grab the gold from up here. I'm going to go see if I can source any gold anywhere else. We're going to get those pieces leveled up as much as we can, and then we're going to jump into building blocks. Alright, so we were able to upgrade those pieces a little bit, but still have a lot left to do. We're going to jump in here. We're fighting on Expert. We still have not cleared room 23, and our high score is still 38,000, which came from our original team. So we are going to try this team out. We're going to get Token and Yalmar up in the front, with Feruli in the back, Herc, and Zol. And Herc will obviously run up to the front, so we'll basically have 3 men up in the front, hopefully doing some damage and spreading out the damage as well. So we'll see how survivable this team is. If it does pretty well, it could be a potential to try to get a 3rd set of gear, although in 2 days that's going to be pretty hard to get them all leveled up to level 6 or higher. I think we'd be better off focusing our energy on the previous team, but we will give this a shot. I think more for anything just out of my curiosity and see how this works. So bring it back in here. I think we're around room 14 or so. But you can see the damage distribution. Herc is doing a lion's share of the damage, followed by Zol, and then it looks like Token does do more damage than Yalmar. So if we do have to go back to only running 1 tank, Token probably is the right choice. But that's obviously looking at this one room, but it did seem like that battle was going on for quite a while. Crit rate or added attack? I think we'll go with the added attack this time. So I feel like there is merit in this team composition if you have the gear. The struggle is if your gear is limited, you'd be better off putting together a stronger team with better gear. So if you have 2 sets of intelligence gear, for example, it'd be better to deck, say, Batu. Well, Batu is agility. But Zol and Feruli are intelligence, but it'd be better to deck out Batu in a really good set of agility gear than kind of doing a half version of one of these guys in strength gear, because you're trying to throw something together. And 5 days is not a lot of time when you're trying to put an entire gear set together and level it up. Like, there's just not a lot of resources for it. So we lost Herc right there. I think we could probably get through this, But the struggle is that with less gear or worse gear, his HP's not as high as it should be. His defense isn't as high as it should be. So when you get into these rooms where you start to struggle, there's just a lot of things working against you. So I do think Herc does some damage for you, but I don't know if it makes sense to put him in if you're trying to throw together an extra set of gear that's just not as efficient. But this battle gets pretty damaging the further you get with all of the curses that stack up on you. And then she almost always gets that invincibility for 5 seconds. So I get her to 0 all the time. And my entire team is alive, ready to go, and looking good. And then she ends up being invincible. I said that, and I think that was one of the few times that she didn't have it that time. So I got her to 0, and she was dead. But we will keep on pressing with this team. I don't think we're going to make it to room 20, probably not even 20, but room 23 with the team as it sits, just because the gear is as weak as it is. We're going to go back to our initial team setup, get them outfitted with the best gear that we can, and then press on and see if they can get back to room 23. All right, we went out on the boss again in room 20. We beat through 19 levels. Yeah, Yalmar and Token were the first to go down. Herc actually lasted longer than anybody. So I think what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to come back into the Guardians here. I think we're going to go with Token and Herc. And then we're going to replace Yalmar for Batu. And then we're going to beef up Herc because he's a warrior. We're going to take him to level 130. And then we'll leave, and probably Token to level 130. And then we'll put Batu at maybe level 110. And see how that goes. Alright, so we're going to give this a shot. We've got Token at 130. He's got tier 5. Everything except for his chest, but his chest is upgraded pretty good on level 10, and it matches his affinity. So I think that's going to be, and it's a 15%er. So this is actually a pretty good chest plate, and it's doing a lot of work for him with 240,000. So that'll be doing well there. We got some defense, seeing how he's got a lot of HP on that chest. We're going to add some defense there. With Herc, we've got a couple pieces of tier 5, everything level 6 or higher. And then he also has a little bit of HP going on with the crossbow back here, and then HP boots. So he's got a lot of HP going on in his setup there. We've got Ferulia here, and almost all level 6 or higher, but we didn't quite get the level 6 on the weapon there. And then Zol, level 6 and higher, with what does he got? Defense boots and HP. So ideally Zol would probably have attack boots if we had them, but we do not. So that's what we're dealing with here. And we've got the tier 4 gear on Batu. We could only get him to level 103. I will say if this works out pretty well, I would look to balance Zol with Batu and try to get them both at least a level 110, and then probably put the excess on Batu, because I think he does do more damage than Zol. But I do think having these guys at 130 up in the front taking on that damage is going to be a benefit. So I think this team should get us to room 23 like we were before. And if it does not, then it tells me that the 2 tank team is probably the better way to go, even though Herc is putting out that damage. But for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be adding up to a victory. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here in Expert and see if we can set a new high score. Alright, so we did make it on to room 23. We barely made it. We got 3 characters left, but we did set a new high score, so I feel like we're at least moving in the right direction. I think this team has a lot of merit, especially if we go ahead and step up their experience levels and kind of level them out, because Batu is down at 103. I think if we could get him up to 110, 120 and kind of spread it out over the damage dealers. The other thing to consider on this is they max out their skill set. So here's our new high score, but our team maxed out their skill set at level 80. So going up by factors of 10 doesn't necessarily make sense. So we could actually, instead of taking the Herc and Token up to 130, we could actually bring them up to like 123 or 127 or something like that. And that way we can get those extra scrolls into Batu. because he does do a lot of damage from the back row, but not when he's at 103. But we did get to level 23 again, and we set a new high score, so that's progress. Coming back into the rankings here, we've actually fallen outside of the top 1,000. High score now is up at 170. That is just impressive. That's really, really good. So I think we'll try to fight tooth and nail to get back in the top 1,000. That probably means we're going to have to up our score by 5,000 to 10,000 points, which is going to come from basically upgrading gear and getting more scrolls and upgrading levels. I think rebalancing may help out a little bit. We might be able to get through that room, but we're gonna need some love. I think we made progress. We tried several different things. Hopefully you guys found that helpful, and maybe you avoided some of the pitfalls and mistakes that I made based on what you learned from the video. But we'll come back at it tomorrow and see where we end up. I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.